Hedgerows are predominantly man-made features of the countryside. In the past, sometimes hedges were sown rather than planted, using a traditional technique where whitethorn seed, haws, were inserted into a twisted straw rope. This rope was then buried, and as the seeds germinated, the hedge grew. Nowadays, new hedgerows are almost always established using young plants, usually 2 to 3 years old, known as quicks. Before you begin planting a hedge, decide what it is you want the hedge to do. There are many functions that a hedge can perform, and deciding the function or functions is important in planning the hedge. Other factors that will influence the construction and species composition of your hedge will be the soil type. Some hedgerow species are versatile, others are limited in their suitability to certain soils. What is the elevation of the site? Above a certain level, many hedgerow species will not thrive. If you are planting a double row hedge, you need to have more shade-tolerant species on the north-facing side. These are just a few of the factors that you need to consider. Not only will you have to think about the cost of establishing the hedge, but also the cost of maintaining it. How do you intend to do that? Planning a management regime that will suit the hedge and the functions that you have in mind within your budget is all part of the process. One of the best ways to decide on what species will be capable of growing in your hedge is to look around your area and see what species are thriving on land most similar to your own. In the interest of biodiversity, you should not only be looking to select native Irish species, but also to use plants that are from local seed sources, referred to as local provenance. Research has shown that new hedges which use plants grown from seed which has been collected locally are more successful than those where the seed for the plants has been imported from other parts of Europe. Many of the whitethorn plants available in Ireland are from seed collected in continental Europe. Compare this imported whitethorn, which has little or no thorns, with this spiny little devil of Irish origin. Also, European thorns, which have adapted to survive relatively hard continental winters, tend to come into leaf 2 weeks to a month ahead of their Irish counterparts. This leaves them vulnerable to late spring frosts, but more significantly, impacts on their biodiversity value. The life cycles of plants, animals and invertebrates that use hedgerows have evolved over time into a balanced ecosystem. Introducing plants that are out of sync can throw that system out of balance. Species with a broad range can adapt, but species with more particular requirements can be sensitive to such change. Once you have decided why you are planting, what to plant and where, we can move on to the business of actually planting your new hedge. If you have free-draining soil, the best time to plant is in the autumn, as soon as the nurseries have their planting stock available. This allows plants to settle in over the winter, and they're ready to get a good start in the spring. If you have a heavier, wetter soil, it is better to plant in the spring, as ground is warming and drying out. You will have to order your plants from a nursery. There are a number of nurseries that supply Irish provenance hedgerow plants. If you're not sure, ask for a certificate of provenance. Larger nurseries will be able to provide this. It is recommended that you order your plants in advance. Larger nurseries often offer a postal service. Before ordering your plants, give some consideration to preparing the ground. Young hedge plants will not tolerate waterlogging, so unless you have very free-draining soil, it is strongly recommended that you construct a hedge bank on which to plant the hedge. Ground preparation before planting makes a huge difference to the establishment of a new hedge. Roots find it easier to penetrate and take up water and nutrients from ground that has been cultivated to a depth of about 450 millimeters or 18 inches. This machine has been specially developed for the job, but a mini digger will suffice. Even ploughing 2 rows back to back will loosen the ground and provide a small mound above the normal soil level. Plants will normally come supplied in forestry bags. Stored in a sheltered place out of the sun, the plants should be okay for a week in the bags. If you need longer than this before you do your planting, it is advisable to heel the plants in to prevent the roots from drying out. Transplants suitable for planting a new hedge will be approximately 40 to 60 centimetres in height. Good quality transplants will have a well-developed fibrous root system. Large plants which have strong tap roots but little fibrous rooting will not thrive as well. The basic toolkit for planting a new hedge is a planting spade and a pair of secateurs. Other useful items include a string line and a planting frame. The spacing between plants depends on whether you're planting a single or a double row. In a single row, plants should be 225 to 300 millimetres or 9 to 12 inches apart. Double row hedges should be spaced 450 to 600 millimetres, that's 18 inches to 2 feet apart, in rows with 300 to 450 millimetres or 12 to 18 inches between the staggered rows. When you're planting, plant from the bag. Roots can dry out quickly, especially in cold winter winds, and if left out of the bag for too long, they can dry out and the plant will be as good as dead before you've planted it. Some people like to have the plants soaking in a bucket of water before planting. Cutting back whitethorn plants to 75 to 150 millimetres or 3 to 6 inches immediately after planting may seem drastic, but it's very effective. The plants produce a number of new sprouts, thickening the hedge base. Weed control is a vital part of new hedgerow establishment. The most common modern method of weed control is the use of a mulching sheet. After the quicks have been planted and cut back, the mulching sheet can be applied. This gives a good seal around the plant, preventing competitive weed growth. The added advantage of the mulch is that it conserves moisture, preventing the young plant from drying out, especially if there is a dry spell in the spring. Newly planted hedges require protection from livestock. Where hares and rabbits are a problem, individual plants can be protected with spiral guards. Alternatively, a mixture of slurry and lime painted on the plants will deter browsers. Where individual plants fail, they should be replaced at the first suitable opportunity. If there are a number of failures, review what work has been done to see if there is a reason for this. Lack of water, waterlogged ground, were plants properly looked after before or during planting? Hedgerow trees add to the aesthetic and biodiversity value of hedgerows, but a little thought is needed when planting them in a new hedge. As with the hedge itself, decide why you are planting the trees. Is it for timber, for fruit, for wildlife value, for improving the landscape? How you answer the question should guide you in your selection of species. Planting the trees offset from the main line of the hedge plants can help in the subsequent management of the hedge. It means that a hedge trimmer can make one pass along the whole length of the hedge without having to move in and out to accommodate the trees. This should keep costs down. Also, when it comes time to lay the hedge, you will find this job is easier if, when laying stems, they are not impeded by hedgerow trees. In fact, trees just slightly off the line can act as very solid stakes for supporting the laid stems. Repairing gaps in hedgerows by infill planting is more difficult than starting from scratch. The root systems and shading effects of existing plants are major obstacles to the development of colonizing light-demanding species like whitethorn. It is like putting weanlings in a pen with 2-year-olds. They are bullied out of it and cannot be expected to thrive. This fact was well known in the past. In his statistical survey of County Armagh in 1802, Charles Coote states, "Large gaps and openings in old thorn fences cannot be restored by young quicks, which will never prosper in such places. I have seen old plants dug up and transplanted into gaps with great success." Better than thorn for filling gaps are understory species, especially holly, which is capable of thriving even in the shade of mature hedgerow trees. The same rules regarding preparing the ground and weed control apply to infilling as for new planting. Following these key points can make all the difference. In summary, for successful hedgerow establishment, you need good ground preparation, strong, healthy plants, and good weed control.